why do you actually join politics when, as a general leading an army, defending the country, which is, I would say, more noble and worthwhile doing?
Question implies it is less noble and worthwhile being a politician. I would say it in this way, and it's an important question, because I've spent the last couple of weeks talking to my colleagues, going around the army to share on parting thoughts about why we serve. And in my mind, the reasons, simple as they may be, at the age of 18, which led me to decide to serve as a soldier in the armed forces, is very much the same reasons that I'm stepping forward to serve. Ultimately, and I think this is where maybe it's useful to cite a small anecdote. My mum reminded me the other day, I used to be in the debating team in RJC. In 1987, we were in the finals. And the motion reads, an MP's first loyalty is to his constituents and not the party. I was in the opposition, meaning arguing that the loyalty was to the party. We lost. It was kind of an uphill task, arguing against a motion like that. But I think it's instructive, because I think our loyalty and my loyalty is first and foremost to our people and to our nation. And that's the reason why I serve in the army all these years. And for me, that's the same reason why I'm stepping forward to serve in this capacity. And then joining the PAP in the political process is because I think there's an alignment in the beliefs. I think in terms of the track record, in terms of where I think we're heading, while I'm sure no party is ever perfect, but I think this is an area which I feel that I'm prepared to come forward to serve and to contribute to my best ability.
SM shared briefly about the difficulties of attracting foreign sector talent into politics yesterday. Private sector talent into politics, sorry about it. So can you share with us some of these difficulties, and have PAP been receiving lots of rejects from the private sector candidates? And second question is for Chuan-Jin. So what are your thoughts that the qualities that the next Prime Minister should have?
We do look at people from all sectors, not just the government sector. We are not that one-sided just to look for people only from the government sector. We have to have a diverse parliament that will represent many sectors, people with different beginnings, different background, different experiences. And certainly people from the private sector will play an important contribution. But we also know that when we choose people, they too must be willing to come in. Not that we have not talked to them. And if we talk to them and they said they have other considerations, then we try to persuade them. And, sometimes we succeed and sometimes we don't. You will see some from the private sector. Of course, many in the private sector are also in the professions and not just being businessmen alone, because there are many ways of making a living. Right? The next question is to you, Chuan-Jin, right?
What are qualities for Prime Minister? I think my preoccupation right now is to get elected as an MP, so the PM side of the house. But my sense is that I think when you step forward to serve, the same qualities that make you a good member of Parliament are probably the same qualities that should make you eligible, whether a cabinet minister, whether an office holder or PM. I think it's about the sincerity, having compassion for the people, that you love your country, to respect people. I mean, there are many, many qualities which are all good. I think individuals will have different emphasis, but I think the key thing is that for every individual that steps forward to serve, does he put the country before self? And I think if anyone that puts country before self, then I think you can't go very far wrong. And whether it becomes PM, whether it becomes whatever, I think nature will take its course.
Questions to BG Tan. You spoke about how you would, we are all Singaporeans and share similar aspirations, whether one votes for the PAP or the Workers' Party. And you also spoke about the need to balance different needs. As a potential member of the fourth generation leadership, how will you seek to balance between the need, the what appears to be a growing desire among younger Singaporeans for more political diversity in the system and other needs, for instance, perhaps efficient governance?
Well, I speak as someone who's still trying to make sure that he gets himself elected. So that's the capacity that I will speak in. But it is a valid question because if you look at our daily lives, it's made up of difficult choices. Money is never enough, time is never enough. You do one thing, there's a trade-off, there's secondary effects. And I think similarly at the national level, or even at the local political level, in the constituencies and so on, there are difficult decisions that need to be made. For example, I think an analogy that was given to me and it was interesting. Singapore is an entire nation squeezed into this 700 plus square kilometer island. We need land for industrial needs, recreation space, living space, catchment areas, transportation needs. You dedicate land for one area, you have the trade-off because less of something else it cannot be used for something else. In the same way, I think in many policies, it sometimes seems easy to just broad brush and say it should be like this and like that, because everything has an implication. And I think Singaporeans do have views of many issues. I think increasingly whether the young, in fact I would say it's not just the young, I think all Singaporeans to varying degrees have different perspectives. How do we then balance the different needs? One extreme obviously is, you have a referendum for every issue, which I think that's not where most countries are going. It's not possible to govern in that respect. When a member of parliament is elected to represent the people, to make the best possible decisions on their behalf. The key thing, I think, for a member of parliament is to really listen to the different constituents and their views, to incorporate it into his decision-making process, and to the best of his ability to decide what seems to be best, if possible, both for the constituents at the national level, and to make those internal trade-offs. On issues which are perhaps more controversial or perhaps a lot more views being expressed, I think the consultation process would be a lot more involved. And I think that would be an ongoing process. I don't think that's a particular formula, but the key thing is, are we prepared to listen? Are we prepared to engage? And particularly views which we may not agree, but the views are out there. And I think we've got to figure out how best to weave that into that process. And that's something I hope in my own small way to be able to contribute in and to listen and to see how best to make the correct decisions.
Basically, what do you think is so wrong about SDP's economic alternative program?
I think being a candidate fielded for this coming elections, I think it's not for me to comment about how SDP does its things, but I think our main focus as a party is to focus on our strategies and our game plan to fight this coming GE battle. So I will not comment on how SDP does its things. Yeah.